Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 1 of Black Women in Business, The Dirty Truth. Episode 1, I know that I am beyond stoked to be here, to be a part of this, to bring this type of conversation to to the world. So I am Tameka, and I am here with Dayna and Andriana, and this is episode 1. Like I said, if you're here, thank you for being here. We are ready to stand in the gaps with all of you ladies that are wanting to break out into whatever business industry your passion is calling you to. If you're in it and feeling some heaviness, we are here for it. We're going to tackle it. We're going to do our best to represent for not only women of color, but all women out there who are just trying to make their marks and live in their truth in the moment. Now, like I said, we are women in business. And I know that there is one thing for me personally that is like a heavy thing. I know we talk about it a lot. We ask for it a lot. I see the posts go up about how you can do this thing in a non financial way, in a financial way, in a way that is going to support your small business friend, your big business friend, your friend just getting started. And it is support. So, today for episode 1, we want to talk about support within our own communities and that spanned the whole globe of women in business, and how we can stand next to each other, support each other, lift each other up, come out of the mess that I feel like is support around women businesses. So we're going to rock right there with that. If you are joining us live, though we're not sitting in a nice big room together, able to connect and chat and pass a mic, please get involved in the comments. We will definitely touch on them as we see them come up, answer any questions that we can. But we are here together and we want to be able to interact with you in the best way possible. So don't get shy on us. Say, hey, interact with us. We would love to hear from you. So we're going to jump right in. Support from women, support for Black, Brown, all of our women in business that are of color, and then just across the board. Ladies, let's take it.
Love it. Love it. So I would love to just hop in. And when I start my portion on this, I want to first and foremost say that in the years that I've been in business, I have had support and I have not had support from both ends. Okay. So I want to just be very clear that if any of these words are convicting you, right, that's a you thing, not a me thing. Okay. So I'm gonna just put it out there like that first and foremost. But what I would love to jump into is, because as a Black woman building a business, I feel like sometimes my struggles, my obstacles, some of the things that I need to get through look a little different than my counterparts. And what I mean by that, and it's funny because I was just recently reading a book, and it was just talking a little bit about, like, if you were raised in, and I'll generalize this, but you were raised in an environment where you saw successful parents, right? Maybe running businesses or doing certain things, right? You would just expect as an adult that you would get the same thing, right? Like, there's no part of you that's like, oh, this might fail or this might not work, right? But what I feel like sometimes that does is it then causes entitlement on one end, okay? And so on the flip side, right? I feel like generationally, and I'm gonna speak for myself, right? If it resonates with you, let me know. But I'm gonna speak for myself, and in my culture, my family came from the South to be at the plant. Okay, they came up to Michigan for the big three, and everybody I know at some point worked for the plant. And so I use this expression a lot, but they went from the plantation to the plant, right? But the mentality didn't change. And so me going into this field as a businesswoman, right, I was never taught that this is a successful way of doing it. So the struggles that I found that happen is there's so much more self-doubt. There's so much more, well, if this person doesn't support me, maybe it's because there's something wrong with me. Or maybe I'm not meant to do this, or maybe I'm not cut out to do this. There's a lot of mistakes that I feel like are made that wouldn't necessarily need to be made. And so I want to touch a little bit what support looks like in business. So for me, as a Black woman, right, there's so many ways that you can support. First and foremost, buy my stuff. Okay. Buy my stuff, right? Like, it always blows my mind when people are like, oh, well, I don't use oils. Cool. Do you brush your teeth? Do you wash your clothes with laundry detergent? Because I sell that too, right? Like, if you brush your teeth, you can support my business and you can buy something, right? But what I found on both sides with my struggle, right? My people not supporting me, but then they not supporting me too, right? So sometimes I get like that, oh, I'm so inspired by you, or oh, I just love your content, or I just love, but you ain't buy nothing, right? And granted, again, when I'm saying this isn't everybody, because I have a lot of people that do support, but I do feel like this is a struggle that not everybody can understand. And I do think that it affects us as Black women a little bit different. And so that's just my real.
But on the flip side to that, though, I know for the mindset wise, as you said, and I'm gonna mirror what Dayna said, if something that gets said episode 1 through episode 2000 that makes you upset, you've got to ask yourself why am I upset by what she said? Why does that bother me? Because there's a reason, whether it's conscious or unconscious, there's a reason. And you can drop it in the comments. We can talk about it. We'll work through it together, because at one way or another, it's going to come up and somebody's going to feel it. But like Dayna is saying, conversely, on the opposite side of that is everything is not financial. So while you're telling Dayna, or because all three of us are in the same industry, she's absolutely right. Well, I can't use that. It seems complicated, but you put on deodorant, you'll go to the store and support, Dove or whatever else is out there, and then come and say, well, I done broke out, I got eczema, I got sensitive skin, it don't work, it doesn't do this and that. So you can use the products. But if you're not there yet, instead of just saying that I inspire you, you motivate me to do this, or I love that post, share it. Tell your friend that literally just asked you, hey, I'm feeling this type of way, and you know what? Go follow such and such, or go talk to Andriana. You got a baby coming. You're saying you're not being heard. Listen, I think you and her will have an amazing conversation, because even if you're like that sometimes that financial line is, oh, well, I spent $200 with you, and then that's it. But going further into the business, $200 might actually only pay me 16. So what is that versus if you're telling your neighbor who has been telling you, I'm not being supported at my appointments, or I'm not sure what kind of makeup to wear, or I'm burnt down and I need to take better care of me, and you literally follow somebody that runs a business along those lines, tell them. It cost you nothing other than the minute or two that it took for you to open your mouth and say that. And that is supporting not only that woman, but her family, for her to further her business to grow. That is helping another woman be in the position to be better or further wherever she's at. So it doesn't always have to be money, and don't let that be the excuse of why you can't support somebody, because we like to get hung up in money, and it's not just money that can support. And I see all of y'all sharing that. Do this, hit like, comment, but I don't never see you doing it. And that's huge. It can be really, really huge just by sharing. You got 2,000 friends, 100 of them see it, 25 of them become your friend or this person you follow's customer. It's a trickle effect that took you 2 seconds. That took you 2 seconds. I mean, there is nothing easier than that. Nothing easier than that.
I don't know. I just feel like, just echoing what y'all saying with the support. What I feel like, what I see around me is we're comfortable. We don't want to step out of our comfort zone. And so you saying you have all these issues, or you saying, man, I wish I had this. I present it to you, and it's like, well, I don't know about that. You know, they said this and that about it. It's like, well, would you just try it? Or I don't know. I think it's just a mindset thing within our community, because I mean, we don't want to try new things. And that, how do you break through that as a business owner to get more people to purchasing your products, or just coming out to sit and chat and just learn more? How do you do that? And I'm just so tired of it now. Support, 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 support.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I will
go
say,
ahead.
to your point though, I also feel like it kind of goes back a little bit to how we were programmed, because I look at, like, y'all real quick. I'm gonna try not to put brands out there, but y'all real quick to continue to support Rihanna in her billionaire status, right? You're real quick to support, some of these other brands. Why? Why do we wait until one of us is successful to say, let me cheer that person on, versus when they're in the trenches and struggling to be like, oh, I see you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love me some Riri now. Riri, if you watching, I love you, girl. But it's facts, right? Like, you don't, and that goes back to other piece. You would not jump in Riri's inbox and tell her, listen, that lipstick I just bought broke me all types. You need to send me my money back. You would not do that. So the same respect that you're willing to give somebody who has hit billionaire status, somebody who's got the key to her country and all these other things, right, treat your girl down the street the same way.
Yes, please.
It goes along, and that goes to business owners too, not just customers watching this. This goes to, we beat each other up, and this right here is to the women of color community. We beat each other up. If your sis does not want what you're selling, cannot use it, do not take it personal. It's not about you at all. It's not about you. Simply sign on. If it triggers you, it's because you're stuck in, as Andriana pointed out, a mindset of hustle. Your business is not a hustle. Stop saying that. It's not a side hustle. This is something that you are trying to build generational wealth. You're trying to make huge changes. So stop treating every no like it's crushing you. Okay, I appreciate you, sis. Recommend me to your friend. That's it. Leave them with something, because I don't know how many have offered. First of all, I talk about Young Living all the time on my page. So when y'all hit me up and ask me to use something, I immediately will say, what are the ingredients? Send me the information. I'll look at it for myself and then let you know why I can't. Women jump into my inbox about candles all the time. I don't use them. I have nothing against, lighting them. I turn my little candlelight flicker on my diffuser and I keep it moving. And I don't think nothing about it no more. But I have friends that do. And so I will send people all the time, because I'm not against what you want to use, and I'm not against somebody else growing their business, supporting their family. It's support. The table is huge. And if we got to pull up another one and keep pushing and keep adding, we're going to keep doing that. Just because I'm choosing and opting to live a different lifestyle doesn't mean that I can't sit next to somebody who is using Scentsy. I mean, don't lie there next to me, but I can sit at the same table with you. I love you all the same. I know plenty of people that use it. Seriously, pull up. Let me help you. Maybe you'll love this and you'll find a kinship next to it, because you never know what somebody else needs. Don't write them off because it's not for you.
And can I also just add, like, and this is a philosophy that I live by, and I like it's dear to my heart. Like, there's enough for everybody to eat. Okay. And I feel like, again, when we talk a little bit about the differences between like us and the others, sometimes one thing that I see with my own people is we have this scarcity mentality. And then we also have where we feel like something is not going to last and it's too good to be true. And so because everything is too good to be true, we're not willing to give our all into it or put everything into it, because we're like, well, it's not going to last, right? We've been hurt before, so we don't want to experience that anymore. And so then we either don't go for it or we neglect it. And that affects our businesses, right? That affects how we show up, and that affects how we operate, right? If you are always in survival mode, right, it's hard to get to that next level in your business. It's hard to make those investments that are going to propel you to other places, because you're like, I can't even eat today, right? Like, so when you're going for your business, you are out here like, I gotta eat, so you gotta buy my stuff, you gotta buy my stuff, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, right? Which then puts other people off. They're like, oh, it can't be that great if she's this desperate. And so I do feel like that's another huge thing that I at least see in my community, where I'm like, I love what you're doing, sis. I love what you're doing. It's not for me. Please stop. Get out of my DMs. I love you so much. I will let you use my platforms. I will do anything to support you, but it's not for me. So let's get you in front of the right people. Let's get you around the right people. And I do feel like it just goes back to that scarcity and that survival mode that a lot of us are in.
And that brings me to a point. All three of us already currently run businesses, some multiple. I said all of us got multiple things going on, as we do. So let's bring in those biases that have affected our business, because all three of us are the same but very different. You know, first of all, yes, we all about the oil lifestyle. If I could bend my camera down and show you, see this hot messiness of oil scattered everywhere. Dayna's got her diffuser over there going. You can see Andriana's on the wow. Look, we're all about that life, but we have different niches, if you will. I'm not a huge fan of that word, but it is what it is. We have different niches, and different things come up based off different things that we talk about. And every business owner knows that there are conscious ones and unconscious biases that you're going to be faced with, maybe that you're feeling. So I want to know, because I know I've got mine, and some of them probably are made up in my head. Who knows? But let's get those out, because we all have them. Y'all out there listening, if there are things that you have noticed that have kind of maybe held you back or have caused you to step back, drop them in the comments. We would like to see them. But let's talk about those. Let's talk about the things that get kind of pushed out there that are fake news and, can stop people from coming to you or stop your business from thriving. Let's tackle those, because I know they're out there, and I know you ladies out there listening and watching are probably like, yes, give them to me. So what you got? Because I know you got them.
I just feel like the unconscious bias of not knowing, well, who this person is. So yes, she's talking about what I need, but I don't know her like that. So it's just the exposure, getting out there in front of people. And maybe that's the business owner's fault. I don't know, but I ain't coming for you. Just the not knowing and the uncertainty. And like I said, we tend to just stay with what we know. And so we don't want to branch out because we don't know.
I think that's kind of we'll say it's across the board for sure. I think Dayna probably is like, yep, I know for me, I have heard my entire life that I have an intimidating face. I can think back to before we decided to do this episode, when we kind of went through what we're gonna do. I'm riding. Y'all know I have my low car moments now, my car conversations, because I just was driving thinking, there are a lot of times, maybe not as I started nearing adulthood, but when I was younger and probably where it mattered most, I have heard like, smile, Tameka, smile more. Why aren't you smiling? You look angry. And I've heard you're just super intimidating. But when I talk to you, you're super nice. Or being loud. I am loud. And sometimes it is uncalled for. I understand it. But I do feel like this lack of not being like, yay, that's not me. It's never been, and I don't want to say like I can't, like when I'm happy. But that just normal every day, or that RBF face that we have put out there, I think has stigmatized. So it forces, and it did for a while. I'm no longer in this place because it didn't work for me. But I feel like, and maybe so many of you can relate, that it makes you put on that customer service voice. It makes you not be you. Like, you come up to things you don't say. Because I remember when I wasn't on IG for a long time, because I was like, this pictures, like there's not words. You remember when it was just pictures, y'all? So I was like, I don't have that. I don't want to do that. Like, you already do that on Facebook, and no, I don't want to do that. But when I did join and stories came about, showing age, because if you were around before stories was big, I was like, okay, so now I have to get on, and I don't want to have too much pepper in the talk. You don't want to say things that aren't going to make sense. You want to bring everybody to you. I need a shirt that's going to say, I'm not for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But I feel like we try to be, because we don't want to be pigeonholed into a description that society has placed on women of color. Mm-hmm. And it really forces that mindset of, I can't be myself. But then you got to ask yourself, if I'm sitting on IG and I'm like, how are y'all? I'm really well. And then you see me in the streets and I'm yelling at my kids. You're like, oh no, she's nothing. Like, oh my God, what did I join with? Like, why am I following her? Then you're confused. Like, this is me all the time. And sometimes I'm super quiet and reserved. Like Dayna mentioned in our intro video, if you haven't seen it, go see it. You wouldn't think that she's super introverted. As many times as she shows up in a video, you're like, there's no way. But I'm the same. Like, stand in the back of the room and I have to catch a vibe. I'm not stuck up, I promise. But I'm just like, let me catch it. And then when I come out, then you'll be saying, I wish she'd shut up.
Love it. So cool. So Tameka, I'm gonna come back because I got a question for you before we end.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about like just my experience. So again, if you saw the intro video, many of you know that I've had my own business and I've been an entrepreneur now for around 8 years. Okay. So some of the things for me that I experienced firsthand and watched with my own eyes. And again, this is not everybody. It's just the select few. Yeah. And I feel like it's important to understand the differences between biases and unconscious biases. And I actually think sometimes the unconscious biases can be more dangerous to us and others, okay? Because you are not intentionally trying to segregate or to disregard someone, okay? So for me, especially when I had my own spa, some of the things that I would struggle with is before people saw me, right? They didn't know I was a Black woman with the spa, right? And things would change when they saw that. I actually had a client of mine. So later down the road, I did some marketing for her. She was also a Black woman. Do you know, for the first 3 to 4 years of her business, she would not show her face. because of the areas that she lived in. Every time she would go into a building and try to get a loan or she would get it approved on paper. Everything would be good. And then she'd get to the place, meet the person, and they said, oh, someone else has taken it. Or, oh, we can't leave it to you now, right? And so she got to the point where she said, I'm tired of this. So she would send her white friend to close the deal so she could get the spaces. And when she would do her advertisements, she would have people that looked, it was like you can't really tell what ethnicity they are. They could be, Hispanic, they could be Middle Eastern, they could be a little black. You're not sure what they really are, but that's how she would promote her business, because she knew if she showed up any other way, that those unconscious biases would come to play and it would affect her business. And so those are some of the things that I would see in my business. And even fast forward to now, there's so many times where people will be in my DMs. They will ask me about oils. They will ask me about these things, and they will go sign up with
someone else,
right? So I want you to, again, think about those things, right? Now, if you go and you say, I love this information, but it's just not for me right now, we're not talking to you, right? Yeah. We're talking to the person that goes that extra step, that I know I need this in my life. They do the purchase, but for some reason, they don't do the purchase with the person they originally started with. And those are the biases and unconscious biases that we have to really address and start talking about more. So the thing I wanted to ask you, Tameka, so for those that don't know, so Miss Tameka, one thing that's a little bit different between me and Andriana, so what is your ethnicity?
I'm mixed, I'm black and white.
So the reason I ask that, because sometimes, right, like if you got a little black, you black, right? It don't matter. It don't matter what your mama look like, what your daddy look like. So my question to you would be more specifically, are there times where you feel like, especially when it comes to these biases, that you have to show up a different way because of who you are?
So yes and no. So honestly, I've never been asked to choose. So for context, my dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force. My mom is from England, and they met while he was stationed for the first time in England. And I've never, we've had all the conversations like my dad had theirs. My dad is black, my mom is white, in case there's any question of that. We had the conversations about, being mongoloid and and all of those things. We had those conversations. And so for me growing up, I grew up a lot military lifestyle, but it was very inclusive, right? So it wasn't like overseas, everybody kind of mixed. There was no question about it. And when we watched Roots for the first time in middle school, in my English class, it was powerful. I can't tell you how old I was because I graduated a year earlier, so I never remember. So y'all, I was in 7th grade, but this kind of set me on the path to how I think about whether or not somebody is looking at me and is saying, okay, well, is she completely black or is she mixed? Or of course, with kids, like I've never had really strong any kind of racial issues up until the last 5 years or so. Maybe because I didn't pay attention to them or because I choose to see the best in everybody. But that day set me on a path to really sheltering myself from who I was and letting everybody see who I was, because everybody knows in Roots they show the whole wide from beginning to the end and all the in between. And so of course when there was the part when they were calling all the fair skinned women, they worked in the big house. And I remember after it went off, like me and my friend was white, and I'll leave names alone, we cried. And I remember I just cried. And I remember my English teacher getting really mad that we were crying about what was happening. So I was confused, like, okay, all right, so it's okay. We're just gonna cry anyway. I'm a crier. I'm an emotional person. But after the series was over, I remember lots of kids in the class were kind of like picking who they would be in this movie and in all of the parts. And I remember being told, Tameka, well, you don't have to worry because you would have been Master's daughter, you would have been in the house. And I was like, obviously at that time, there's not a whole lot of like education behind it as a, now as an adult, like I'm even madder than I was then. But then I was just hurt because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like, why would you even put me there? Like I wouldn't be like, why would you do that? So I remember saying, I didn't say it then. We left, and I remember telling the girls that hurt my feelings. Like, it hurt my feelings. And you're in a DOD situation, and there's like zero tolerance. But as an adult now, when I think back, there was zero tolerance because we didn't want to get bad PR for the situation. Because I remember one of my favorite teachers, it blew up. My dad got a call, and they were like, Tameka has said, I didn't accuse anybody of racism. What I said was, what you said hurt me. And I spoke my truth. What you said hurt me. What you said made me feel like less than, but more than. And so I just spoke up for myself and for the other women of color, young girls of color that were in my class. This thing spun out of control. Our principal brought us into a room, sat us all down, and it started off wrong because we put all of the girls of color on one side of the table and the white girls on the other side of the table, and we were facing each other having this conversation. My favorite teacher kind of sealed how I would perform in the early days of my business by telling me, stop the class before class stopped, like the following week, and basically shamed me for telling these people that I was hurt by what they said. His words were, I can't believe that she even started this. I'm so disappointed in you. And I remember thinking, okay, so I felt a certain way. You're disappointed in me. So now I have to push that down. So for the longest time, I wasn't me. Like, I wasn't Tameka. I always told that line between what was going to make me socially acceptable, because I was just shamed for telling you this how I felt. So I didn't do it for a really long time in the beginning of my business. I was very cautious about, putting that out there. I have never been, the only people that usually ask me, what is your race, are Hispanic. They always ask me if I'm Hispanic. That's the only time. I always get, are you Hispanic? Or they'll speak Spanish to me. And I'm like, no, I don't speak Spanish. But I think up until my senior year, senior night during basketball, I must have had my entire high school dang there come up to me and say, I did not know you were mixed, because my mom walked the court with us. They're like, what they say, I thought you were just a light-skinned Black person. They did not, it was just never, like Dayna said, you are perceived by, you have brown skin, so you're Black. That's just it. I have been told, come be somebody's bodyguard because of that, I guess, rough and tumble look I had coming up. I've been accused of some ridiculous things because of that. And it shaped a lot. And I know we talked about this privately before this. When I was struggling with, like Dayna said, I would have people come to me and say, I really want to talk about this product. And we would talk about it, and I had people tell me, I cannot believe how passionate you are. You're really exciting. I had at an event where I was told that, and then they went to somebody who's on our bigger team, and she's white, and they signed up with her instead. And all she said was, I want exactly what I was talking about with her. And that was it. And so I remember being super frustrated around the holiday season. And my husband was like, do you think it's because of who you are and who you are perceived wholly as? I've never separated it. Like, this is me. I am mixed, but when I would take standardized tests, I put Black because I have color. Like, if I was to check white, you would probably be like, it'd be a whole thing. And then when they put on the list mixed race, I checked mixed race because that is who I am. But I do feel like for a really long time, it has, but it also shaped how I stepped into my business and shrunk myself because at a really early impressionable age, I was told that it was wrong of what I did to speak up for myself. And it did. It stamped a lot. And I know if any of my family members are watching this, that's the first time I ever said any of that out loud, because it just was a situation that up until I became an adult and could fully understand how I felt about being told that they were disappointed that I spoke up for myself. It just was like, okay, an adult, like conditioning, like you said, Dayna, adult told me that they were disappointed in me, and it happened to be one of my favorite teachers. And I was like, okay, then I must have really done something wrong. So let me not do that again.
So good. So good.
My.
So be careful what you say to people, because it may be triggered in you. I know Dayna said it, and I will say it throughout every episode that we show up. Somebody telling you that they're hurt or they didn't like how you said something is not that they're calling you out of who you are or accusing you of anything, but it's just that's how they feel. And honor that and have the conversation and find out really where they're coming from. And that goes across it. To, your business women of color to to the white ladies out there running their business, to have the conversations. And if you feel triggered, then do it. And that's what we hope to bring out across every one of these episodes that we talk, that we bring up, that we talk, that we show up. It's going to be hard. It's going to be probably super uncomfortable, and things are going to get said for the first time. But we're going to keep doing it because we're all powerful in our own rights. And we look forward to seeing y'all episode 2 next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central. Y'all love each other. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.